Rex Paris Fort Smith. The Bud Light Countdown is on. Arkansas football begins in 3 days.
Attention, please!
Halftime is brought to you by Supercuts, offering smart looks for back to school and serving your community daily. Supercuts, we're super in style.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Broadcasting live from the Bud Light Studio.
I love Arkansas! I love everything here! Give me that thing here! Woo!
On your favorite Arkansas sports talk station.
Why did that happen in Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Dixon Street. It'll get you.
Streaming live from
Hit that line.
.com.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Halftime.
Man, that ball got out of here in a hurry.
With Phil Elson.
You do a fantastic job on the radio. There's no one else in this league I'd rather listen to, so keep up the good work.
And Ty Richardson.
Guys do a good job, and I'll listen to you guys.
2 more quarters, and after that, most of you will never play this game again.
D-Mac, hold on, man, Ryan. D-Mac not looking back, touchdown.
How about that Heisman, Mark Jones?
How do you like
it? Wide open again.
All right, hold on, it's almost halftime.
Hump day, getting into the middle of the week, and we welcome you inside our ESPN Arkansas studios for halftime on a Wednesday. Phil Elson here with Ty Richardson, and oh boy, we are still counting down to kickoff on Saturday, and we have a lot to get to today. We're going to learn, well, I guess not learn, but review a little bit of what we talked about yesterday with Tajh Boyd, the former Clemson quarterback, and the first quarterback that Chad Morris worked with at Clemson, the all-time ACC leader in passing touchdowns, Clemson's all-time leader in passing yards. This still blew me away, Ty, when I looked at it yesterday and found out that Clemson had 7 seasons with 10 wins in their all-time history before Tajh Boyd became the starter, and then they've won 10 games every season since Boyd became the starter. I think that says a lot about the guy we had on yesterday. Of course, he doesn't have much to do with what with the last 4 or 5 years, but he started the legacy. Of
He's a catalyst, dude. He got it all kicked off. Like, he was the 5-star that came in quarterback, and then some of the guys that he got to play alongside, Sammy Watkins, Andre Ellington, DeAndre Hopkins, Vic Beasley, Shaq Lawson, they just started getting some dudes. And you could tell by his answers yesterday, that made his job a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I think catalyst is the right way to describe that because the catalyst is the start of where things really begin to get going for your team, and you kind of wonder if that means that Ben Hicks is a catalyst for whatever happens in the future for Arkansas football. And so let's get to some of those comments. And by the way, if you want to get with us today on our Cherokee Casino hotline for a phone call or for a text, it's 877-377-6963. If you do text us, and we already have a couple of them in here with us today, we ask you to give us your name and your location. So since we already have it seems to me, Ty, we are starting to get some texters that we can count on almost day by day now. One of them is Thumper. Texts in, thank you, boys. We're getting closer to game day. Yep, and every single minute is closer to game day. The countdown started at 100 on Ty Richardson's Twitter feed.
No doubt in my mind. We are winning the Natty Championship.
Well, yeah. Who is that? That's the first time I've ever heard you play that.
That's
that
the
sound.
That's one of my buddies that was caught from Pig Trail Nation last year down in Omaha. Not this past year, but the season before, after Oregon State game. He almost got escorted out of the stadium because he had a little too much alcohol, Phil. So he's like sloshed on this call. I need to show you the video because it's pretty funny.
A few too many White Claws, I guess, huh?
I guess.
Well, that's something I'll get into later on and change my mind, by the way. Alan Fort Smith already in Thursday mode. I guess he's already thinking about halftime homework, Ty. Asking, is Ty seen Good Morning Vietnam? No, he is not, even though he's got the Adrian Cronauer intro to his show, of course, screened by Robin Williams, famously in Good Morning Vietnam. That's going to be assigned at some point, though. Ty has been asking me to lay off the movies and the lengthy TV shows as we get into football season. So tomorrow I got a couple of musical acts that Ty's got to learn, and they don't have anything to do with football. But we are trying to get into things that deal with football, so let's talk about the stuff that Chad Boyd that Taj Boyd mentioned yesterday, mixing our two subjects together into one person, I guess. And hey, I mean, when you're talking about an offensive coordinator and a quarterback, don't you want them to almost be like the same person, to feel like they each know what the other is thinking?
Oh, 100%.
And I don't think that was the case at first when Boyd had sat as a freshman, and Chad Morris that year was the offensive coordinator for Todd Graham at Tulsa. Of course, Dabo Swinney really hasn't made many changes over the course of his head coaching career amongst the assistant coaches at Clemson, but he did make a change in Boyd's first season, firing an offensive coordinator and then bringing in Chad Morris. And the two of them had a come to Jesus meeting, I think would be the right way to put it, at the end of spring practice, Boyd's freshman year. And remember what Taj told us? He told us that he basically didn't do anything throughout the summer but study the playbook. So you got that sound from yesterday. This was sort of to me, really, when you look at it, this was the moment when Clemson's fortunes turned from good program but not necessarily one of the top in the country to becoming one of the top of the country. This meeting between Chad Morris and Taj Boyd.
I mean, I had one spring with him, and, in the summer, and after the spring ball, he looked at me and said, look, I know you think you had a solid spring, but it just wasn't good enough. And if you can't find a way to get it done, I'll find somebody that will. And that's just who he is. So it was a challenge for me to step up to the plate, just like it will be for Ben. I mean, even though Ben's familiar, Ben, I'm sure, has a leash here too, and it's going to be a tight one because of the expectations that Chad Morris is setting over there.
Phil, again, this was the 5-star QB. This was the guy that everyone knew was going to be the starter. This was a guy that ended his career breaking so many of Clemson records, and yet Chad Morris treated him like any other dude because he knew that Taj had a ton of talent, and he showcased that throughout his career. But that's, for him to say what Taj just reiterated to us yesterday, is pretty unbelievable, and that kind of makes me think, I know this is way down the line, but if that's the expectation if he has for him, what do you think the expectation is going to be for Chandler Morris when he gets on campus? If that's the level for Taj Boyd, what do you think he's going to have for his own flesh and blood? I can't even imagine the pressure that he's even going to get from his own father, but kind of just steer back to Taj and what we were talking about yesterday. It's pretty wild, man, and I thought he was brutally honest about him in the conversation he had with Chad Morris initially.
Well, I could imagine that Chad was also pretty straightforward with some of the players that are no longer with this program. At the end of last season when they had their meetings and basically laid out the law that you weren't going to accept the kind of season that they had last year, and certainly the last two games were the most unacceptable of all of them, even with losses to Colorado State and to North Texas, the way you drop the ball and let go of the rope. So, I mean, that to me says Chad is very straightforward with his players. And so you kind of anticipate that the guys that are still here right now, they appreciate that straightforwardness. They've been talked to in a way that I think they can appreciate and might feel they've got a relationship that they can build on with Chad Morris, not just as someone that recruited into campus, but somebody that will be very honest with them. And I think sometimes the media feels that Chad Morris is, I don't think being honest with them, but just isn't necessarily talking to them in a straightforward manner.
Well, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a coach that's straight and honest with his own players, or kind of keeps himself to his vest when it comes to talking to the media? It's definitely that's part of it, man.
You can't treat them the same.
Yeah, exactly.
The players in the locker room and the media are completely different. I mean, the message gets out in a certain way through the media that maybe a coach doesn't want it to. So, but with the players, those are the ones that you really that you rely on more than anything else, especially in this day and age where athletic departments have their own media departments and get the message out themselves in many ways that they don't need other media organizations to do so. So what does Chad want at quarterback? And you could tell, one of the things that I think that Boyd mentioned yesterday about the offense, that we will see this year more risks downfield. And I think you've got some of the speed at receiver, albeit admittedly some of that speed is injured right now. And you've got the arms potentially in order to take the 4 or 5 shots downfield that Boyd said Chad Morris wants to call each half. So, I mean, essentially you're looking at about 9 or 10 deep balls every single game. And you didn't have that last year. You know, it was obvious that Ty Storey knew the offense better, didn't have the arm to run it. Cole Kelly had the arm, but didn't really have much else as far as that was concerned, or the accuracy that would go along with that arm. So what does Chad Morris want at quarterback, and why he is starting Ben Hicks? This is what Taj Boyd thought.
Chad is a unique guy. He knows what he wants. He expects it in a way to be perfect. You know, when you got a guy like that, man, like he wants to go out there and operate and function at such a high level that it's a lot, especially for a young guy to take in. So when you get a Ben Hicks who played under that system at SMU to come into this SEC environment with Arkansas football, for him to be able to nail down that offense, know exactly what Coach Morris and Joe Craddock want from him, and the way he actually can throw the football, man, I'm excited to see how that offense continues to evolve. I think it was a wise move to start Ben coming into the season because they got to find some energy, they got to find some mojo and some confidence, and I think he's the guy to be able to do that for him.
He mentioned Ben a couple times yesterday, Phil. There's 2 or 3 times when he mentioned Ben Hicks specifically, and that should hopefully give Arkansas fans some confidence in what you got in the starting quarterback on Saturday, and hopefully it'll bode well for Ben that he'll come out and perform, because after seeing the reaction to Arkansas fans when he was named the starter, and it's my hope, and I don't think it's going to happen because I think there's a potential that Starkel could actually take over, but I hope that Ben just plays out of his mind all season and doesn't ever relinquish the starting job. That's my hope, because this kid got so much flack for not doing anything except trying his hardest to win that starting job. And again, I want to remind everyone he has not played a down yet at the University of Arkansas in a regular collegiate football game. So I hope he just shows out and shuts everyone up this season.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you want that from your quarterback no matter what? I mean, going into week 1, wouldn't you want the quarterback who's chosen to start the first game to start every single game and not have any changes, because that means he's playing really well? And I mean, I think you're going at it from more of a
vindication.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like
get out of my
spitefulness
face.
against fans,
Yeah.
spitefulness towards Hicks for being. And again, I still think that a lot of the trepidation about Hicks amongst the fan base has more to do with where he came from than anything else. I think it has to do with the quarterback being elevated from Southern Methodist, who's opening this season in Arkansas, in Jonesboro, than it says about the actual kid that's playing there, because none of us have seen him. We've only heard about him. And he knows the offense. That's obvious. And I think that because of that, you're going to like what you see on Saturday. But this is still, it's like part of the preseason, playing Portland State to start the season. And boy, the second game, that Ole Miss game, that's really when you're going to tell what sort of grasp the rest of the team, I think, has on the offense, and really what Ben Hicks' physical attributes fit into the rest of everything else. Because I think people are expecting that Starkel has the bigger arm, the stronger arm, maybe a little bit quicker foot-wise, and has theoretically SEC caliber talent because he was recruited to play at Texas A&M. Ben Hicks was not. You kind of wonder, though, at the same time, how much growth is there from a quarterback who has played already 3 years, really 2.5 years after he was replaced last season at SMU. How much better does he get moving into his senior year with a giant step up in competition? I mean, it's a huge step up in competition from they're in Conference USA, then up to the SEC. So I don't think you'll see much about it on Saturday, but I'm excited to see what the offense looks like. Let's get to and here's one of the things we wondered about while Chad was compiling this really good incoming class for this year. Why does somebody want to play for Chad Morris? Taj Boyd didn't make that choice. Morris did not recruit him to campus. It had been the previous offensive coordinator and Dabo Swinney that did that. And for me, the answer that Boyd gives you more of a window into what the future recruiting classes are looking for, because Morris was up front about this year's recruiting class. They recruited on the idea of available playing time now. You show up on campus this year, there's a very good chance you're going to play in the SEC. And that might not be the case next year. So why do you want to play for Chad Morris? Here's Taj Boyd.
Players want to play with other players. That's just kind of what it is. And, when Chad brought in that offense, that high tempo, high energy, I had 107 passing touchdowns for a reason. I mean, we used to throw it deep all the time. If you look at my highlight tape, it legitimately is all deep balls for the most part. You know, people wanted to play in that. It's attractive. You know, it's sexy, but at the same time, Chad still runs it to a point where it's methodical and it makes sense.
I love that little humble brag that he tossed in there, Phil. He's not a conceited or cocky guy based on his interview, based on the conversations I've had.
But he knows his stats, as any good athlete will.
Exactly. And, I mean, if you remember watching that Clemson football team from about 2011 to 2013, 2014, yes, you can do a little, but Deshaun Watson had the ACL. Cole Stout really wasn't the guy they needed in that offense. But that 2013 Clemson squad should have probably gone on to the national championship. Now, they got absolutely swatted by Florida State that year, which was a really disappointing game. Florida State beat them like 51-13 or something. But that offense, man, was fun to watch. There were studs all over the field making plays. It was absolutely incredible. And Taj just had a lot of weapons around him. Not to dismiss his talent because he's a very talented guy, but, man, if Arkansas could get back to the point with Bobby Petrino, and you think about that core of Greg Childs, Kobe Hamilton, Jarius Wright, and Joe Adams, if they could have those type of receivers that you had at Clemson with Taj Boyd, absolutely that's an attractive offense. You know how easy that is to sell to high school recruits, high-scoring offenses, Phil? Do you know how easy that is? Like, I guarantee you Morris has pitched the idea of reestablishing that with the likes of Trey Knox, TQ Jackson, Shamar Nash, and Trillin Burks. I bet I wouldn't be surprised if he showed him some of the highlight tapes of them in Clemson back in the day. That's what I would do to him. It's like, hey, do you want to be a part of this offense? What I did at Clemson? And even to a certain extent at SMU with Trey Quinn and Cortland Sutton? I know that's not as notable because it's SMU, but still, Phil, it's the same concept that he'd use to attract some of these recruits to get to Fayetteville.
Well, you go back and look at the year before Morris showed up at Clemson as OC. Kyle Parker was the quarterback, and Boyd sat there behind him. Parker averaged 6.5 yards per attempt. You get Morris into the offense, Boyd as the starter, he averaged 7.7 yards per attempt. That's more than 1 yard per pass attempt, which is quite a bit when you're throwing it about 500 times. Last year, Ty Storey averaged 6.3 yards per attempt. And that just isn't going to cut it in the Chad Morris offense. And the Yumi Boyd eventually got up to almost 10 yards per attempt by the time he was a senior and a two-time All-ACC first-teamer. So, and that is with, admittedly, a lot more talent on that Clemson team than Morris had with his first season. But maybe it gives you a little more of a window into exactly what you might see in the second year. So, I mean, you'd like to see that yards per pass attempt get up into the sevens, I think, with Ben Hicks as your starter. All right, it's good stuff to get into to start the show today. We've got some updates involving Razorback personnel, who was on the field, who was not on the field yesterday. I know they haven't practiced yet today, but if we find anything out about players that have or haven't practiced today, because today's the day they got to show up in order to play on Saturday, really staring at Trey Knox more than anybody else. And we'll get to that in the next segment. Plus, we have two great guests on today, Clay Henry from Hogs Illustrated and Whole Hog Sports in hour number 1, and Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio in hour number 2. Plus, our usual Wednesday segment where Ty and me will try to get each other to change each other's mind. Plus, your phone calls and texts on the Cherokee Casino hotline, 877-377-6963. You are going to love Breeden RV and Power Sports, one of our great sponsors here on Halftime. That's because Breeden features upfront and no-hassle pricing. Every single RV is heavily discounted as soon as it hits the lot, and you're guaranteed to get the best price around. Breeden RV is also the only dealership around that offers maintenance for life and no extra charge on your new travel trailer, fifth wheel, or motorhome. So come see Breeden RV today on Alma Highway between Van Buren and Alma, or check out BreedenRV.com. Quick break. Back with more on Halftime on a Wednesday on ESPN Arkansas and HitThatLine.com.
The best midday show in the Natty State. You're listening to Halftime.
Edward Edwards Auto Center in Roland has a newly remodeled facility with a greater selection of vehicles, and you will enjoy a relaxed, no-pressure sales experience. If your credit score has been an issue, Edwards Signature Buy Here, Pay Here program is a part of their superior customer service. Some restrictions may apply. Edwards has helped folks achieve their dreams of auto ownership and providing quality used vehicles for more than 30 years. Visit the newly remodeled Edwards Auto Center 3 miles west of the Garrison Bridge, the first car dealer on the right, or log on at edwardsautosalesinc.com.
Hey, this is Ted with Ed Walker's Drive-In. For more than 70 years, Ed Walker's has been the place to go for the best French dips and hand-patted hamburgers in town. Blue Plate Specials served Monday through Friday, and we're still the home of Fort Smith's only 5-pound hamburger. We're open 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Call ahead for pickup, 783-3352. Ed Walker's Drive-In, 1500 Towson Avenue in Fort Smith, where the legend lives on.
It's the Rock and Roll Endless Pools event going on right now at Burton Pools and Spas in Fort Smith and in Springdale. Hi, Tommy Kraft here. If you've seen them on TV and always wondered about an endless pool, now is the time during the Rock and Roll event through September 2nd. Get a free upgrade with free music and resistance bands with the purchase of an endless pool fitness system or swim cross exercise system at Burton Pools and Spas. This is a $1,229 retail value. Check it out for yourself. The endless pools, if you want to improve your fitness, relieve pressure in your body, melt away the stress of daily life, an endless pool can be perfect for you, and it's a great choice. See the full line of endless pools for yourself at Burton Pools and Spas during the Rock and Roll event, 6121 Zero Street in Fort Smith, and just off I-49 at the 412 exit in Springdale, and always online at burtonpools.com. It's the Endless Pools Rock and Roll event, now through Labor Day at Burton Pools and Spas in Fort Smith and in Springdale.
Hi, I'm Kelly Smith, owner of Dixie Digital Imaging, the Xerox authorized agency and dealer in the River Valley. The 29 new models of Xerox business printers and copiers represent a quantum leap forward in office technology. They are designed for the way we work today, safely and securely. They're powered by Xerox Connect Key technology. They're innovative and affordable with both black and white and color devices available. For more information, give Dixie Digital a call at 783-6600 or visit us at dixiedigital.com. Dixie Digital Imaging, bringing Xerox document innovations to the River Valley.
Painting your ceiling but afraid of the mess? Hurry to Metters Lumber True Value for a gallon of bright white Easy Care ceiling paint for only $12.99. This non-splatter, quick-dry formula is water-based acrylic, so it's less messy and cleans up easily with soap and water. It also comes with a 15-year warranty. Pick up this great bargain of the month, along with brushes, ladders, tarps, and other accessories to make your painting project go smoothly while supplies last. Have questions? Just ask the painting experts at Metters Lumber True Value.
I'm Lisa Hinton, owner of Champ Hinton Enterprises. For nearly 50 years, the Champ Hinton name has stood for one thing: selling quality cars in a different way, taking the mumbo jumbo out of the process and making customers happy. All these years and tens of thousands of cars later, we're still here, doing business the way Champ Hinton taught us, selling to generations of families who've become part of our family. Champ Hinton Enterprises, the area's premier used car dealer. Take the Arcoma exit off I-540 or go online at champhinton.com.
This is the Morning Rush.
You know what we say when we mean QB1?
Yeah.
Okay, because Tommy just thinks it's a kid thing. Now, I got it from the show Friday Night Lights, because that's what they always talk about. It's like, oh, man, he's QB1. He's the big deal on campus. He's the big dog. Tommy just assumed that it's just what the kids say these days, which it is, but that's fine.
We didn't say Ryan Mallett or even Tyler. We weren't like, oh, hey, there goes QB1.
Don't miss the Morning Rush. Weekdays from 6 till 9. Only on ESPN 95.3. Halftime is brought to you by Coors Light, made to chill. You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
On first down now, Boyd the call. Catch back across the 40. Rakeem to midfield. To the 40. To the 30. To the 20. He's going to the house. Rakeem Boyd for a touchdown.
Oh, Chuck Barrett, from your lips to the football gods' range, please. Let's hear a few more of Rakeem Boyd taking it to the house this year. I assume that's going to happen once or twice against Portland State coming up this weekend. We do know that Rakeem is healthy. He has been healthy for the entire fall / summer / practice / camp, and all the running backs have been. I think we've heard no negatives about injuries to Devwah Whaley or to Chase Hayden. T.J. Hammonds will be Well, according to Chad Morris, won't be with us for the first 4 games. I guess that's new coach speak for suspension. We still haven't found exactly the reason he won't be there, but good news did come out of practice on Tuesday that assumed starting left tackle Colton Jackson was dressed out in a red jersey, and that also means Myron Cunningham will go back to where they had originally slated him, which is an interesting thought because I don't really know where the coaching staff originally slated the Swiss Army knife that Myron Cunningham has become, who is the first-team right guard, second-team left tackle, probably the third-team left guard, and maybe the fourth-team kicker. So that means you won't have any freshmen starting game 1 against Portland State on the offensive line. Good thing. But, and there is a but, Cheyenne O'Grady was at practice yesterday, but he wore the green jersey. Green means no contact. I see the color yellow for jerseys that were worn by receiver Kendall Catalan, who I think is redshirting this year. Luke Jones, the offensive lineman who transferred from Notre Dame, he is a redshirt this year, and Peyton Osley. So they all wore yellow, and none of them are going to be playing this year, so I don't even really know. I don't have to know what yellow means. Trey Knox was at practice but wasn't dressed. He was wearing street clothes. That tells me it's 8 straight practices that one of the assumed starting wide receivers and potentially the most exciting player in this team is out because of an undisclosed illness. And that tells me, Ty, we're not going to be seeing Trey Knox on Saturday against Portland State. If he does make his debut, I think it'll be against Ole Miss. And that's quite a day to make your collegiate debut in the most winnable conference game of the year in Week 2.
And it's not like Ole Miss has the most talented DBs in secondary, but it's still SEC caliber. Even if it's low-tier SEC caliber, that's better than most conferences and teams across college football. And Vaught-Hemingway Stadium is not the most intimidating place in the Southeastern Conference, but it's still an SEC venue. It's going to be a hype game, second week, 6 o'clock, night game. So it's going to be fun. And man,
I just wonder how Trey gets his strength back because
good question.
I don't know what the illness is, and there's no need to speculate on it. But it is an illness that's kept him out for 8 straight practices. I can't help but go back to Matt Cronin dealing with mononucleosis at the tail end of the regular baseball season in 2018, and when he did come back. I mean, he made it back after missing 3 weeks. But he wasn't quite the same pitcher, and it's just because it takes a while after whatever the illness is that knocks you out for a week. I mean, you have a cold for a couple of days, you get the stomach flu, something like that, you can return pretty quickly. But a lot of the other illnesses that keep you out for a week or so, or in Cronin's case, 3 weeks, and whatever Knox is dealing with, this has to be sapping his energy. This has to be changing what his body had looked like from maybe the previous 3 or 4 months to a little bit lesser than that. And I just don't know if you will see the real Trey Knox or whatever that means when he gets back to the field. That's why I don't care if he's on the field practicing today. He's missed 8 straight. I just don't see that he'd be ready for Saturday against Portland State. But there were some players that were made available afterwards. And, of course, if you are going to be the starting quarterback and it is Week 1 and players are out there talking to the media, part of the job of being the starting quarterback is being in front of the cameras, and Ben Hicks was in front of the cameras yesterday. Here's Ben Hicks on winning the starting job for Week 1.
Yeah, no, I just told him how appreciative I was of the opportunity, and really excited, and I was appreciative of the guys pushing me this fall. And I mean, I think everybody was supportive of the decision, and we understand, and we'll move forward. I think I'm excited. So,
how did Nick take it?
He's taking it fine. He's done well, and I think we both would have handled it well either way. So I appreciate Nick, and we'll be fine.
I kind of wonder, how else can you answer that question? Oh, boy, he was pissed. I'll tell you what, he was throwing things in the locker room. Starkel told me that we're not going to be talking the entire season. He said, I'm this close to entering the transfer portal. What else is Ben Hicks supposed to answer that question with?
I would like to have known his genuine reaction to Chad Morris or Joe Craddock. I'm assuming Chad Morris told him the news directly that Ben Hicks would be starting. And I'd like to see how he reacts because I think that tells a lot about a person. Like, if that's me, I'm just motivated that much more. Now, I might not react that way initially, and Nick Starkel has every right to be ticked off initially if he thought he earned the starting job. But that should motivate you. That should push you to be that much better and take back the starting job. And I'm not talking about doing anything under the table or doing anything that would hurt the football team, but just motivate you to be better, Phil.
I still don't think Starkel ever had a real shot at winning the starting quarterback job for week one. If it's all about knowledge of the offense, it's the idea that Hicks has been with the team since January, and according to Chad Morris, Starkel had been in the offense for 3 weeks. He never had a shot at being the starting quarterback. No matter how good of a camp he never had a chance. And I would imagine that Starkel might have even had an idea about that going into camp. If it's about knowledge of an intricate, complex offense, how can you beat out somebody who knows this offense for 3 seasons?
So let me give you 2 rebuttals on that, Phil. I know we're coming up on a break, but 1, why would he transfer here if he didn't think he had a shot at the starting job? And 2, if that were the case, why did they wait so long to the Monday before the first game if Ben Hicks truly had the job locked up for all fall? I don't know if I necessarily agree 100% on that.
Well, I think part of it is that Chad Morris keeps this kind of stuff close to the vest. I think there was going to be a conversation about the quarterback one way or the other. The conversation that we had and everybody else had is, who's it going to be day in, day out? And what if you make the decision 2 weeks ago, then the conversation then turns into, why was it this guy for the next 2 weeks until you get a game going? So I think the conversation would have been about the quarterbacks one way or the other. And to me, when I'm listening to the answer that it's about knowledge of the offense, how can somebody that knows this offense for 3 seasons and has some talent as a quarterback in Ben Hicks, how could Starkel ever have had a shot? I think you might be right. Why would Starkel transfer to Arkansas if he didn't think he could win the job? I still don't think he ever really had a shot.
Yeah.
I think that's something we can get into with Clay Henry, who's coming up in just a moment. But we want to remind you that Halftime is brought to you by The Fence Man. And if you own a business that needs more security or maybe just needs more curb appeal, a new fence from The Fence Man can give you both. The Fence Man specializes in custom installations, and they've been doing it for over 40 years. Gates, controlled access card readers, give The Fence Man a call for a quick, no-obligations quote. Call The Fence Man at 479-782-3936 and ask for Henry. That's The Fence Man, a division of Quantum Property Services. Clay Henry coming up next on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com.
You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson. Follow them on Twitter at Phil Elson PXP and at Ty Sports Radio.
Kids are back in school, fall is just around the corner, and at Breeden RV that means one thing, camping season. With deals on new travel trailers up to $13,000 off and new fifth wheels up to $20,000 off, you'll see why Breeden RV is the area's fastest growing RV dealership. And you'll have peace of mind when you buy from Breeden RV because every new RV comes with maintenance for life. So stop by today at Breeden RV on Alma Highway between Van Buren and Alma, or visit us on the web at BreedenRV.com. Breeden RV, home of maintenance for life.
Joe's Grill and Cantina is the only place to watch the Hogs. Watch every game at Joe's. Enjoy half-price apps and taps during the game. And with TVs all around the restaurant, you'll have a front row seat. Half-price appetizers like brisket nachos, Mexican pizza, 10-layer dip, or Joe's humongous sampler platter. All half price. And all beers on tap are half price. Watch every Hog game at Joe's. Half-price apps and taps during every Hog game at Joe's Grill and Cantina. 3400 South 74th Street across from Harps.
Hello, would you like me to find workout classes near you?
There are no stores that sell glasses within 10 miles of your location.
There's enough artificial in the world. That's why Michelob Ultra is brewed with no artificial colors or flavors. With just 95 calories and 2.6 carbs. Superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. 2019 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. 95 calories, 2.6 grams carbs, 0.6 grams protein, and 0.0 grams fat for 12 ounces.
What's your next obsession? If it's diving lessons, Ocean Impact Dive Shop, Western Arkansas, and Eastern Oklahoma's premier dive shop is waiting on you. Ocean Impact is a full-service 5-star PADI dive shop offering air fills and tank inspections. The staff can answer all your questions and get you started on your underwater adventure. Ocean Impact Dive Shop, 2127 South 56th Street, Fort Smith. Don't wait. Get to Ocean Impact Dive Shop. Go get your dive on.
Metal Mart offers high-quality prefabricated metal buildings, metal roofing, custom trim shops, carports, and more. They strive to be a company where contractors as well as do-it-yourselfers are welcome. Metal Mart assists you in calculating the materials needed to complete your project, all at a rate you can afford. They have locations in Fort Smith, Mayflower, Jonesboro, Pine Bluff, and Little Rock. Or you can find them online at metalmarts.com. Metal Mart, the right material for the right price.
At Chambers Bank, our Arkansas roots grow deep, and you can trust us as your partner for every banking need. From a simple checking account to your first home loan, whatever you need, big or small, we are here for you. With 18 convenient branches throughout the state and a full suite of online banking options, we will always be available when you need us. Family owned in Arkansas since 1930, Chambers is your full-service community bank. Bank with trust at Chambers Bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS 631520.
Attention, please! Halftime is brought to you by Supercuts, offering smart looks for back to school and serving your community daily. Supercuts, we're super in style. You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
Sterner, 5-step drop this time, going for the home run, and it's caught! It's Lucas, and he's heading for the end zone. Touchdown, Arkansas, 80 yards!
Back on Halftime on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com. We are efforting getting our friend Clay Henry with us right now. Clay told us that he had to do the interview on the cell phone today instead of at his desk up there by the what is it, the New Fork River? Is that where he lives? Is that the name of the river, Ty?
Norfolk.
Norfolk River,
Norfolk.
that's right.
I always butcher the name. Tommy's probably listening and it's going to text me that I said it wrong, but I think it's Norfolk. I think this is him calling. 1 sec.
He was driving to get a desk for his study, so there are, that's going to involve our show at some point because he's going to be doing a lot of the interviews right there at that desk in his study by the Norfolk River. And he must have gotten that desk right now because Clay Henry has dialed us in. Hello, Clay Henry. How's did you get a desk? Is the study all dressed up for the rest of the football season?
Not
Clay,
there yet. I'm on my way to Corning to pick up a desk.
Aha. Okay, so this
You know
is.
where Corning is?
I do not. I know where Corning, New York, is located, not Corning, Arkansas.
Corning from Fort Smith would probably be about 6 hours.
Well, that's quite a drive for a desk from coming from your location. This must be a special desk.
Not that far. No, it's not that far. But I've got about another 2 hours to go. But I'm good. I think I'm in a good spell. Although that would be up. I'm close to Viola. You know where Viola is?
I don't know where Viola is either. You're in the part of Arkansas I don't think I've traversed too much.
Flat.
Try that one more time.
40.
Yeah. Aha. Well, it's one of the
about evening stay.
This is a day where you're prepping for the football season. It sounds like because you need a good desk. You need a good desk for good writing. Clay, we went into the break. We went into the break talking about. I don't think Nick Starkel ever really had a shot to be the starting quarterback for Week 1. When Chad Morris says. This decision was based solely on knowledge of the offense. Ben's run the offense for 3 years, been with us, meaning Arkansas, since January. Starkel's been in the offense for 3 weeks, and as good as he picked things up in those 3 weeks, he's going with somebody that he obviously trusts much more. I don't think Starkel really had a shot. What do you think?
Well, I think you're probably on to something. I thought it was going to be Hicks all along, but the thing that throws me off, Bill, is that I keep hearing people say, well, Starkel has a bigger upside. And I think you've said that. And I want to know, well, what's the bigger upside? What the guy that knows the offense has the bigger upside to me. Would you agree?
Well, I guess it depends on what upside you're talking about. When I'm talking upside, I think I'm talking about the things that are more physical attributes, the arm strength. Yeah. More than anything, I think I'm talking about arm strength. But that's oversimplifying what a quarterback has to do. We talked with Taj Boyd yesterday. He ran this offense at Clemson, and Taj said this is about knowledge. This is about knowing where everybody has to be, especially with such an inexperienced group on this offensive side.
I agree with you 100% with that, and it's in fact, I'm writing my piece for Saturday's paper. I was up early and pretty much got it done. And when I have talked to quarterbacks through the years, and I mentioned these quarterbacks, Barry Lundy, Joe Ferguson, Bill Montgomery, Clint Sterner, Matt Jones, Brandon Allen, Austin Allen. So what was the difference between sophomore, junior years, and senior years? That it slowed down. And Chad Morris talked about that Monday. That's anticipation. Everybody, we sit and we recognize, well, that's how the defense is lined up. We see that, the pre-snap. We think, well, is it press coverage? It's not press coverage. Are the linebackers in the gaps? Where's the safety? And we all get the pre-snap read, but after the snap, we don't see how it changes and boom, boom, boom. And the senior quarterbacks that have played 2 years, they see the post-snap reads, and they anticipate, and the ball comes to the right spot. That part of what Ben Hicks has in this offense that Nick Starkel may not have yet. Now, we also understand that the angles in the alignment of the wide receiver have to be right to get into space and provide those creases that are important. And that's what's going on. So I think that's critical about what we see happening.
Clay, I want to go on the other side of the ball here defensively. And when I look at the two deep, and you see how it's a very inexperienced secondary, you still have, you look at your two deep on your linebackers. You got one guy who's spent a lot of time on special teams and hasn't played much of that position. And Dion Edwards is the second teamer behind Hayden Henry. Devone McClure, former nickelback, former baseball player, is the second stringer behind Bumper Poole. I wonder if this is a defense that can deal with the injuries that are going to come because of just the nature of the game of football. It's just, this is where you realize that, we talk a lot about offense and needing to build up the roster there. This is still a defense that's a long way from building the depth to being a truly successful SEC unit.
Yeah, I think that they're better, and the good news is they haven't had any injuries. The same 11 guys that started camp are still available. Greg Brooks has hurt his thumb, but he's available and he'll play Saturday. It's been a good camp as far as defensive injury. They've got a lot of young players that are second string, and those guys are not ready to play now, but maybe in another month they'll be ready. So how they can absorb the first 2 or 3 games while these guys are getting their feet wet is important, and I think you're right. It's in the difference between being a top-level SEC team is that you've got 45, 50 players that are ready to play. They don't have, that number on defense. Like, say, I remember John Thompson telling me, and maybe Reggie Herring too, defensive coordinators I really respected, but you need 25 guys ready to play when you start that first week. They're not there in that regard. Now, I think they've got more linebackers ready to play, and they may have more quarterbacks ready to play. But I'm not sure about safety. I'm not sure how many they've got ready the defensive end past those 3 seniors. Now, Zach Williams and Mateo Stoli will be ready at some point this year, and they've got the speed. They're a little light in the britches for SEC play. Can they pick up another 10 or 15 pounds in the next month? Of course, they play Ole Miss in week 2. But I think that's a good point that they don't have the depth anywhere on this team, maybe outside of quarterback. That might be one of the positions where they do have some depth.
Talking Arkansas football with Clay Henry on the Cherokee Casino Hotline. Clay, we had a conversation with former Clemson quarterback Tajh Boyd yesterday, and he brought up some really good points. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about with this offense in year 2, it was hard to install a lot of it year 1. He said like 30-something%, and it seems now that they have like 65, 70, or 60 around that mark. Clay, how much is that going to help open the offense up and showcase it to not only the rest of SEC, but college football itself, so Arkansas can get back to the point where it's fun to watch their offense again?
They couldn't throw and catch last year. I mean, that was, to me, the most obvious thing. And what percentage of it was, the part that they had in, they couldn't execute. I mean, they could not, in the week 2 against Colorado State, when they had open receivers, they didn't hit them. And the receiver, I think Chase Harrell dropped one at a critical point in that game. They could not throw and catch. They're going to be able to run more stuff just because of Hicks, and I think they will get there as far as a higher percentage. But yeah, I mean, it's the deal should be a fast-paced, up-tempo offense. They couldn't do that last year, and it's it wasn't full tilt boogie. It was driving Miss Daisy kind of speed, and that should change, especially as some of these young wide receivers like Traylon Burks and Trey Knox and Mike Woods, really progress, and that the wide receivers and the quarterback are on the same page. I think that what you heard from Taj is going to happen. That it's a higher percentage, and what they're running will be higher completion percentages, fewer 0-yard plays, fewer lost yardage plays and sacks. So I think you're going to see the offense go a little smoother this year.
Clay, I was reading your article about the Tahoma 31 grass going in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, and it was a very informative article, but the thing that stood out to me was you talking about playing knee football back in the day. So you got to tell me about that. We used to play this game called No Weenies Allowed, where one guy stood like 2 yards from the other, and we kind of made a goal line, and you had to break through 2 or 3 guys to score a touchdown. Tell me about this knee football that you used to play back in the day.
There'd be 10 or 12 guys from the neighborhood over in the backyard. I had 3 brothers, and it'd be 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, and it'd be an area that you couldn't leave. And I don't remember how. I think we took our T-shirts off and marked the corners. They were like pylons. Because you played in blue jeans. No, everybody had blue jeans, and the knees were out because they were wore out. You just handed them down, patched them. This is in the 60s, so it's all hand-me-down stuff. So you played in your blue jeans, and you could not get on your feet. There were pitch outs. It was kind of like rugby, but it was neat. Just kind of hopped around. And there'd be clotheslines, but full speed on your knees is not very fast. It's like it was in slow motion, but it was fun. And I mean, it would go on for hours until there'd be a bloody nose, and somebody would scream, and Mama would come out and say, "That's enough. All the knees are out of the teams. I'm gonna have to patch them all." And then it'd be a week later, and we'd do it again. Knee football. And my dad had grass like a putting green, and it was so much fun to play. And I think there's probably people that have done that. But we had some mean, nasty knee football games in Meadowcliff and Southwest Little Rock.
I got to be honest. When I hear the idea of knee football and how you played it, to me it sounds like it could have the wear and tear that catching an entire collegiate baseball season would have. How are you still walking after playing knee football as a kid for so long? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, my left knee's been scoped 2 times. There's not much left. Now, I was a catcher. I played catcher, through at least age 17. And that's not good on your knees. And my fingers all point different directions. So you look at my hands and you know I was a catcher.
I tell you what, I played some touch football, some tackle football with friends and all that, a lot of pickup basketball and all. But my favorite game was speedball. Where it was a 2-man baseball game essentially, where you'd have one person up against the wall with a taped up strike zone, and it was all about if you could hit the ball past the pitcher and how long you hit it. Gave you equal, whether you got a single, a double, a triple, or a home run. That was my game of choice, and pretty much I should be surprised that I can still throw a baseball all these years later with how many times we threw a wiffle ball or a tennis ball back then.
Well, we also had home run derby down at Junior Deputy. Harry King participated in some of those. And,
you mean Harry used to get out and run around? Harry King was a child at one point?
Yeah, he did do all that stuff. We played basketball. We played touch football at 9 o'clock at night on Friday nights at the Arkansas Gazette down on 3rd Street in the alleys until my dad said, "Enough sprained ankles, no more football on your dinner breaks.
That sounds like some like invincible Mark Wahlberg stuff where they're playing like hitting each other into cars, Phil.
I know. Hey, Clay, are you sure you don't want to let every listener here on ESPN Arkansas know exactly where that patch of grass from Royal Stadium that your mom dug up is located? Are you sure you don't want to give that up here?
I need to go by and make sure those people there that live there, I don't know who they are, that they understand why people are coming over the fence into that southwest corner of the backyard. It's on Westmont Circle, but I'm not going to tell you the street number until I get the thumbs up from them.
All right, start the parade, everybody. There's a caravan right now.
The Holy Royal Turf. Yep.
Well, Clay, always appreciate you joining us. Love reading your stuff at Hogs Illustrated and Whole Hog Sports. And, of course, we'll be reading you, and we'll be talking about this Saturday game with you in a week from today. Thanks again.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
And happy desk shopping. All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap up the first hour of halftime next on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com.
You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson. Follow them on Twitter at Phil Elson PXP and at Ty Sports Radio.
The Catfish Kitchen at the top of Logtown Hill in Van Buren has lunch specials every weekday from 11 till 2, starting at only $7.99. Try the 3-piece catfish filet dinner with hand-cut fries and all the fixins. It's only $11.29. And the Catfish Kitchen is more than catfish. Try their shrimp dinners, cooked any way you like it. Chicken tenders, crab cakes, or one of their po' boy sandwiches. The Catfish Kitchen, open Tuesday through Sunday 11 till 9 at 727 Fayetteville Road at the top of Logtown Hill, across from the police station in Van Buren.
This Coors Light is the perfect temperature. How can I tell just based on the sound? I can't. But I can see that the mountain on the can is blue. And when the mountain is blue, your Coors Light is perfectly cold. Coors Light is cold lagered for a crisper taste, cold filtered for brightness and clarity, and cold packaged for peak refreshment. Doesn't that sound good? Coors Light, as cold as the Rockies, available down the street. 2019 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Your fence is more than a decoration. It's a reflection of its owner. Choosing a fence company should be done with integrity and quality in mind. The Fence Man has been providing fencing and security solutions for over 40 years. An in-house custom iron and gate department, plus an access control department. The Fence Man offers services other companies aren't equipped to do. The Fence Man, fencing and security solutions to protect what matters most. 479-782-3936 or online at thefencemancompany.com, a division of Quantum Property Services.
Elite Roofing is a locally owned roofing contractor. If you're building a new home or maybe need a new roof on your existing home, Elite Roofing can take care of you. Elite Roofing is known for their dependability and reliability. Just ask any of their satisfied customers. They are licensed and insured, and references are available upon request. If you need a roof, call your local roofing contractors. Elite Roofing, 478-8668. That's 478-8668. Elite Roofing, 478-8668.
Unlimited personal group training at the Fort Smith Athletic Club. Personal group training is a great way to create accountability for your fitness while improving mobility, endurance, and overall wellness. Reach your fitness goals faster with personal group training. Only $60 a month. Call Mike Johnson at 479-926-0193. These workouts are high intensity and get results in under an hour. Only $60 a month. Call for class schedules and details. 479-926-0193. Results happen here at the Fort Smith Athletic Club.
Locally owned Lumber One can handle all of your building needs. They've built their business on having great relationships with everybody from contractors and builders to the everyday build-it-yourself. Lumber One is a full-line door shop to handle all of your door, window, and trim needs. And along with lumber, roofing and drywall products, attic wall and floor insulation is available. Lumber One also does blueprint takeoff with access to design services with estimates available. So go where the pros go. Lumber One, located on Industrial Park Road in Van Buren.
If you needed major surgery, you probably wouldn't choose a doctor who's never been to medical school. So when your car needs major repairs after a collision, why would you take your car to a body shop that's never been trained? Evans Body Shop is among only 10% of collision repair businesses to meet the industry's highest training standards as a gold class shop. We know the latest repair techniques, how to find hidden damage, and how to repair your car's critical safety features so they work properly again. With the safety of your vehicle and your family at stake, choose trained repair professionals. Choose Evans Body Shop.
Where we meet the nicest people by by accident.
Want to have more than your average home? D&D Flooring is a simple choice. You can choose to have excellent customer service and design assistance with D&D Flooring. Wood, vinyl, carpet, to beautiful window treatments, professional installation every time. 0 financing options available. Come see D&D Flooring large showroom and selections. D&D Flooring, serving the River Valley and surrounding areas. 1323 Main Street, Van Buren, or call 474-0533.
Halftime is brought to you by Coors Light, made to chill. You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
Deep middle, wide open. Jarius Wright trying to get his balance. If he can, he might take it. Breaks the tackle, down the sideline, got a block, and he's in. Touchdown, Arkansas.
Back to wrap up the first hour of Halftime on ESPN Arkansas. HitThatLine.com. Seems that Eddie in Clarksville has moved his slot. He's been calling in at about 1 o'clock for most of our shows. Now he's calling in for the last segment of hour number 1. He's with us now on the Cherokee Casino Hotline. Good afternoon, Eddie. How is the whistle sounding today?
Well, sir, I got reason to blow the whistle, but I got up this morning, sir, and I was craving a song. Back in the past, down memory lane, and cool in the game. Let's all get together and have a party, get it kicked off in the Rock come this Friday. Let's get around Hall fans all around the country. And if you can, wait, lunchtime, whatever, you get back on to Warren Boyle Stadium, and let's celebrate what it means this team. Let's see the enthusiasm in this fan base, and what the fuel, the Hawk train come this Saturday, they'll be hitting on all cylinders. Because that's exactly, we got a good shepherd. And I can't stand it when, people bash me all the time. Now they're bashing a good shepherd. Are you kidding me, man? He's the head coach of this program. He'll decide who plays quarterback. And the good thing is for the fan base, we got 2 quarterbacks that can execute a play. I mean, that's something to celebrate about. Something we didn't have last year. We didn't even have a go-to quarterback, too. You can bet if Mr. Ben Hicks is not getting the job done, he'll pull the plug on him and put Mr. Starkle in.
All right, Eddie, we got about 10 seconds left. We got to cut you off. That was a good call, and I'll finish the call for you. Thank you for taking my call. Back for the second hour of Halftime on ESPN Arkansas. HitThatLine.com.
You always get more at Orr.
The 2019 clearance is on at Orr Chevrolet in Fort Smith. We have some awesome new 2020 models arriving daily, like the Chevy Blazer and the heavy-duty Silverado. So to make room, Orr Chevy is getting straight to the bottom line price on all remaining new 2019 models. Half-ton Silverados, Tahoes, and Suburbans, Equinoxes, and Traverse SUVs, plus Malibus and Chevy Trax crossovers. You get the famous Orr volume discount and all the money for your trade. Plus, with any new Chevy sold, you'll also receive a complimentary 3-day, 2-night hotel stay at one of over 600 hotels across America. So come get a free hotel vacation today at Orr Chevrolet on Auto Park Drive in Fort Smith and 24/7 at OrChevyFS.com. Chevy, find new roads.
You always get more at Orr.
Drop off the bumper. Kids run downpour to the bank, go to work, pick up squirrel. Kids then go home. With Michelin tires, you'll be ready for the unexpected. And for a limited time, get up to $100 via reward card after submission with purchase of 4 new 18-inch or larger Michelin tires, or $50 via reward card after submission with purchase of 4 new Michelin tires 17 inches and smaller.
Get where you need to be with Southern Tire Mart, just off I-540 at exit 14 in Fort Smith.
See MichelinMan.com/promo for complete details. Offer expires 9/19/19. Void where prohibited.
Did someone say, I'm hungry? Visit 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge on the Avenue. Try the new panini sandwiches, like the Chicken Pyro or the Cubana, or the signature 906 wings. Jumbo wings roasted with honey bacon jam. Want some spice? Try the black and blue wings. Experience their salads, flatbreads, coffees and desserts, top shelf wines and liquors, premium beers, world-class cigars, all in an atmosphere that feels less like a lounge and more like a destination. Sample, indulge, escape. 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge. Treat your appetite on the Avenue.
Barley is the soul of Budweiser. That's why we've been working with the same family-owned American farms for more than 50 years to harvest it. The secrets to growing this grain perfectly have been passed down through 3 generations. For them, it's a legacy. And it's why only the best barley and locally sourced ingredients are used to make Budweiser. Budweiser is proudly raised across America. This Bud's from our barley farmers. This Bud's for you. Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
ESPN Arkansas weather.
We may see a few lingering showers or thunderstorms across the south early tonight, and then a little bit of clearing. An overnight low will drop down, low 60s north, upper 60s south. Sunshine Wednesday with just a very slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Our high temperatures low 80s north, upper 80s south. Thursday sunny, mid to upper 80s. I'm Sally Russell with your forecast on ESPN Arkansas.
Weather is brought to you by OG&E Weatherization Program for Arkansas customers with homes at least 10 years old. Call 1-800-272-9741 for details or log on at OGE.com.
KERX Paris Fort Smith. The Bud Light Countdown is on. Arkansas football begins in 3 days.
Attention, please!
Halftime is brought to you by Supercuts, offering smart looks for back to school and serving your community daily. Supercuts, we're super in style.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Broadcasting live from the Bud Light Studio.
I love Arkansas. I love everything here. Give me that thing here. Woo!
On your favorite Arkansas sports talk station.
Why did that happen in Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Dixon Street. It'll get you.
Streaming live from
Hit that line.
.com.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
This is Halftime.
Man, that ball got out of here in a hurry.
With Phil Elson.
You do a fantastic job on the radio. There's no one else in this league I'd rather listen to, so keep up the good work.
And Ty Richardson.
Guys do a good job, and I listen to you guys.
2 more quarters, and after that, most of you will never play this game again.
D-Mac, hold on, Matt Ryan. D-Mac not looking back. Touchdown.
How about that Heisman, Mark Jones?
How do you like
it? Wide open again.
All right, hold on. It's almost halftime.
Getting into the second hour here, halftime on a Wednesday on ESPN Arkansas, hitthatline.com. I felt bad for cutting Eddie from Clarksville off there, and I really did appreciate Eddie changing the time that he'd been calling, because he'd been taking over a couple to 3 minutes of our usual 1 o'clock segment, and I think Eddie, as many phone calls as he's made in radio now, could we call it a phone calling career, a listening career, because he's probably as well known as any caller throughout the state, whether you think of him in a positive or negative way. He's pretty good at hitting a mark. When you tell him you got 60 seconds to make a point, he usually makes that point in 60 seconds and always ends it with that sign-off that he's so well known for. I didn't give him a target to shoot for, so I'm going to put that one on me.
Darn
you, Phil. A lot going on in that segment, too, Ty. The usual music that closes down the hour, along with Get Down On It by Kool and the Gang, of the same. You want to talk about a crash. That was like 2 cars coming together at 60 miles an hour. It didn't look very good or sound very good. Anyway, do you know much about Kool and the Gang, by the way? I know
Generational gap.
Oh, okay. I mean, I feel older and older and older by the day now, because now I've got so much more to teach you that we're getting into tomorrow. I've got the Jackson 5 that I've got to get you with. I'm going to get you with Kool and the Gang.
I got to watch Rain Man tonight, and I already watched the Tom Cruise movie earlier this week.
You're going to love Rain Man, by the way. You are absolutely going to love Rain Man. And you're going to love the Jackson 5, and you're going to love Kool and the Gang, and you continue to tell me, Tom, sometimes I thought this about myself. And maybe we're starting to do tomorrow's segment today a little early, but I always felt like I might have been born a little bit later than I should have. I should have been around in the 50s and the 60s, especially for baseball play-by-play radio. I think you feel like you should have been born in the 60s so that you could enjoy the 70s and the 80s a little better. So I think you'll find that generally the case when you are introduced to the Jackson 5 and Kool and the Gang tomorrow. All right, but that's tomorrow. Today is today, and today on a Wednesday, it's Changed My Mind.
I changed my mind.
Hi, Joey.
Hey, how you doing?
He won't sell anybody out to buy his future.
How can you be so obtuse? What did you call me? Obtuse. Is it deliberate? Son, you're forgetting yourself.
Change my mind.
We mentioned it yesterday. Nikki Chavanel from Rivals gave us a little tease into the announcement that did come out yesterday involving Arkansas, Missouri Battle Line rivalry next year, being moved to Arrowhead Stadium, the home of the Kansas City Chiefs, Black Friday. And what this tells me is that universities do not want games on campus the day after Thanksgiving. And I wouldn't say that it's a matter that they don't want them the week of Thanksgiving, or maybe this just says more about Arkansas versus Mizzou, because Auburn, Alabama is the weekend. I mean, you have these great rivalry games.
Bowl.
Thanksgiving week. Florida State, Florida, Georgia, Georgia Tech, the Egg Bowl, just like Ty mentions. South Carolina, Clemson. Used to have Arkansas, LSU, which, of course, if that was on either campus, you were going to fill the place. But Arkansas, Missouri just isn't a rivalry like the sponsorship wants it to be. And what this tells me is rivalry games, Ty, don't go in NFL stadiums. They just don't. I know. You look at the Southwest Classic, our Arkansas, Texas A&M. It was a rivalry for a long time, and then when A&M and Arkansas signed the contract, you still were in different conferences. I don't see them as bitter rivals now because it's been dominated by one side. And I even look back to the days where Pitt and West Virginia played in the backyard brawl. They did play 2 of those games at Three Rivers Stadium. I think Pitt-Penn State also had been played at Three Rivers a couple of times. But I don't think rivalry games belong in NFL stadiums unless they're NFL rivalries. Because if you're talking about the pomp and circumstance of college football, it's all about what's going on campus. Or even, I think in the case of War Memorial Stadium in Arkansas LSU, that felt like a real rivalry game. It wasn't an NFL stadium, though. It's just not the atmosphere, not the surroundings that the college football is meant for. And hey, I'm still a Pitt fan. I hate that Pitt plays at Heinz Field. They need their own stadium. College games, college rivalry games belong just don't belong in NFL stadiums. And I don't know what sort of atmosphere you're going to get for Mizzou, Arkansas next year. But I saw Mizzou and Kansas played a couple of games at Arrowhead Stadium. Yep. I think that also told me that the atmosphere at their home stadiums was terrible, and that's why they did it. To kind of meet in the middle, I guess. But I think it's cool, that Arkansas will play 2 games in NFL stadiums next year. But I just kind of feel like NFL stadiums should not be hosting college rivalries. So maybe this is 2 things to look at, Ty. NFL college rivalry games don't belong in NFL stadiums, and Arkansas, Missouri just isn't a rivalry. Changed my mind.
I can't argue with the Arkansas-Missouri rivalry because as much as we want it to be, and I want there to be a rivalry for Arkansas at the end of the season. You have Bazell's comments, our buddy Carrington Harrison over in Kansas City, Sports Radio 610, making the comments what he said about Arkansas and some other stuff going on with the Razorbacks and the Tigers. It's just not a rivalry. That being said, Phil, when it comes to college campuses, at this time of year, there are very few that can pack out stadiums. You ever been to Fayetteville around Thanksgiving? It's a ghost town. You ever been to Columbia around Thanksgiving? The exact same thing.
Well, let me ask you this. If you were still playing LSU as your last game of the season, and that game was in Fayetteville, what would it be like?
Where did they used to play that game, though, Phil?
They played it in Little Rock, I know. But if it was in Fayetteville, what do you think it would be like?
I think it's all contingent on how Arkansas – obviously, the attendance would be better than Mizzou walking in, but I still don't know if it'd be a sellout. Like you get – and I know not the distance, but the amount of people you can stack into War Memorial to compare to Donald W. is 20,000 plus difference, but it's still packed out. And it was packed out all the time. And I don't have a problem with the concept of moving it to bigger cities that a lot of college kids will be adding home and actually be making the atmosphere better. It's not 100% on college kids or anything, but I'm just talking about the fact that the Kansas City atmosphere. I think there will be some Arkansas fans that definitely were like, I wasn't gonna go to the game if it was in Fayetteville or something. But Kansas City, I'd actually consider going to that. And again, it's the Friday after Thanksgiving, so maybe that has an impact on it. But as far as having it in college campuses, ghost town-wise, unless it's just a incredible rivalry like Alabama-Auburn, the Egg Bowl, and what was the other one? Florida State. And is there one more that you mentioned?
Well, Georgia Tech, Clemson, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. And I know Vanderbilt probably takes that a little more seriously than Tennessee. The game's in Knoxville this year. LSU, Texas A&M. That's not a rivalry, but they play some great games.
As far as the NFL stadium is concerned, Phil, do you know the absolute amount that you can stuff into Arrowhead? My buddies are huge Kansas City Chiefs.
I think it's like over 80,000 or close to it.
So
you're not going to get that many people in Arrowhead for that game. You probably get half that much.
Yeah, I think it would be better. I don't know the logistics on it, but playing in like Sporting KC's field, and I don't know if they could, if there's games. This tells you what I know about the MLS. If there's games at that part of the period, if they would be able to make it into a football field. But I know Sporting KC is like 30 or 40,000, and I think you could definitely sell at that, and that atmosphere would be interesting. But the atmosphere has been crummy for Columbia and Fayetteville these last few years, so I understand the concept of trying to switch it up. My buddy Jeff Taylor just texted us over at Jeff Clubhouse. It's 22 to 25,000, so you'd definitely be able to sell at that. But I don't have a problem moving to a big city, but I understand your concern as far as an NFL stadium goes, because there's no way they sell it out. I get you there. All right, a popular bar up on Dixon Street known as Willie D's. Phil, have you ever been to that piano bar called Willie D's by chance?
Not the one in Fayetteville. I don't have much of a nightlife in the Rock anymore, but there had been one down by President Clinton Avenue in the River Market. I've been in there a couple of times.
So I've been to that one in Little Rock. There's a couple other cool piano bars that I've been to, one in OKC. And for those who have been to New Orleans, if you want to text into our Cherokee Casino hotline, 877-377-6963. What is that iconic piano bar there? Because I've been there as well, and it was really cool. But I'm kind of bummed out because I got the news over from KNWA, the fact that Willie D's changed owners, and now they're changing the names just to the piano bar, which is kind of bummed. And it will always be known as Willie D's. You know how you call the arena with no teams, the arena with no teams?
Right.
I just refer to it as Alltel because that's what I first knew it as, and that's what I always will know it as. But this is, Phil, this doesn't concern you as much because you're kind of taken now, but this is where all the hot moms congregate on like Mom's Weekend and stuff. Like every single one. It's the most crazy, wild thing I've ever seen when I was up in college, how many hot moms would be there, older women.
Are you saying this is where you've gone cougar hunting, Kai?
I haven't. I've been hunted. I'm typically in the not the market for the hunter.
You've been the prey.
Hunted, yes. Just a lot of good memories there, and this happens over time. And I'm sure the people listening who went to Fayetteville in college or just went up there for games and stuff, there's iconic bars, there's places that you remember going to, and whether it's a change of ownership, a change of venue or something, it was just kind of disappointing that was no longer there. So I got that news, and I think about all the good times. And I never went there except on Thursday nights because they had $2 PBRs and Yellow Bellies. But, man, it's just kind of a bummer when life is passing you by and you see all these old places, even though probably the idea is not changing too much. Even the name itself, it's going to be a bummer that they're changing it from Willie D's to the piano bar.
Well, okay, so, and by the way, Josefa from Fort Smith texts in, I think this is a buddy of yours, Ty.
Yeah, he's my dude.
Pat O'Brien's in New Orleans. And Josefa, let me just tell you what, you could not pay me enough money to walk inside Pat O'Brien's.
What?
In New Orleans.
You don't like that place?
No, sir.
You didn't did you get a hurricane while you were
there?
there?
I would never drink a hurricane in a million years.
Oh, my gosh.
Not one, because that would be up-chucked as soon as it was down-chucked. So no, thank you.
I'm very disappointed in you, Phil.
Hey, there's plenty of other drinking spots on Bourbon Street or in the French Quarter that I've been and that are more enjoyable. And hey, you could say the French Quarter is just a giant tourist trap one way or the other, but Pat O'Brien's is the trappiest of the tourist traps that's available out there. Maybe that's a change my mind right there. So let me go with this Willie D's changing its name to the piano bar. And this is all about when I have heard people say we're going to go to a piano bar, they usually say we're going to the piano bar. You know, there's another one in Little Rock, Ernie Biggs. And so you had Willie D's and Ernie Biggs kind of fighting this
we're
piano bar war. We're the real one in the River Market. Is there an Ernie Biggs up in Fayetteville?
There is not, but I have been to that one in the Rock as well.
But they would say we're going to the piano bar, so that's where they would go. And this is generic marketing more than anything else. It isn't very creative. In fact, it's the opposite of creative. It's just calling your place what you do. So for me, the idea of the piano bar is just getting people to think, well, when they say piano bar, they're going to go to the piano bar. And it also tells me that whoever owns the thing needs somebody with a few better ideas to market things a little bit better. All right, so here's my second change my mind. I saw where on today's SEC coaches teleconference that Chad Morris announced that he has named 3 permanent captains. And it's interesting, they are all defensive players. T.J. Smith, Scooter Harris, and Sosa Agim, all seniors, of course. But what really is getting, usually I thought you have a captain for each unit. Like there's an offensive captain, there's a special teams captain, and a defensive captain. Here, it's all defensive players. But Chad also says we'll have more guys in there until we get 6. Colton Jackson will be out there with them this week. Who needs 6 captains? That's over-captaining a football team, I think. I mean, hey, it's not up to me to say you get a first-string captain, you got a second-string captain, but how many captains do you need? I would have just thought that there's a captain for each unit, and you leave it at that. But in this case, I guess there's going to be 6 guys walking out to the midcourt, to the midfield stripe for the coin toss. And it's just, for me, it's like it's a couple captains too many. It's over-captaining a football team. Change my mind.
I know you want to try and intimidate, but Arkansas is not really going to intimidate any opponent at any point of the season outside of maybe Portland State. Even the non-conference opponents they play, I think they'll beat every single one of them, but I don't think Colorado State, San Jose State, and Western Kentucky will be shaking in their boots when they face the Razorbacks. Maybe in 2010, 2011, 2006, and a couple other years, but this team doesn't scare you right now, and they shouldn't, period. End of the day. So I can't really disagree with there, and it's just overkill. Over-captaining, overkill, whatever you want to call it, Phil, I agree 100%. So Greg Sankey was ranked by the New York Post as the #1 most powerful person in college football. He's worked the SEC for 13 years before becoming the commissioner. He was the commissioner at the Southland Conference for 7 years. I listened to an hour and a half, 2-hour podcast with him and Clay Travis. It was fantastic. Got a lot of insight on him. He was in charge of intramurals at one point, like right out of college, Phil, and he was working like 60, 70 hours a week. It was wild, man. Some of the stuff I got out of that conversation. He's going to have a huge pull. You think about the contract negotiation coming up with CBS. We always talk about the contract negotiations referring with Arkansas in terms of the stadium debate with War Memorial and Texas A&M and Jerry World, which will come up in 2024. Phil, CBS is only paying an average of $55 million a year for about 15 games with the SEC, and they make oogles of money, like just so much money for that. So I'm curious with Fox, NBC's probably not going to with Notre Dame. If they really go after him, he's going to have a giant say of where the SEC ends up on what network. But I think he's the most powerful man in college football, just like the New York Post does. Change my mind.
And it's really interesting to think about, this one man being the most powerful person in college football when there's a host of other sports that the SEC also is a part of. Of course, football is at the top of the list, but he's also got his hands in basketball and baseball and all of the Olympic sports. So I would tend to agree with you on this because the football television packages is where a lot of this money comes from, that you're paying coaches and able to build great facilities. And you get the sense that all the dominoes fall in place after the SEC signs its contract with whatever television provider or streaming provider they're going to go with. Mm-hmm. And I mean, watch when this whole thing goes down in like 5 years. I know there's going to be a major television partner, but there's also going to be a major streaming partner. I think that's the way it'll go. The only person I could think of, and I was looking maybe at the Big Ten commissioner, but Jim Delaney steps down 2020,
exactly.
So you can't go with him. Mark Emmert.
See, I can't typically, now that we're live streaming, by the way, we are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, doing that for halftime now. I can't give you the typical one finger that I typically give to you when we're not live streaming, since I have to be cordial and have some etiquette now that we're doing that, now that people can see how I interact. But there would be a finger that I would show you when it first Mark Emmert, that scoundrel.
I think you and hundreds of thousands of other college football fans would be showing the same finger. So I'd say Mark Emmert probably is the most disliked person in college football. So the only person I could think of is super agent Jimmy Sexton.
That's a good one.
I mean, he represents 11 of the 14 head coaches in the SEC, which, of course, is the conference that Greg Sankey runs. He represents Nick Saban, Gus Malzahn, Will Muschamp, Mark Stoops, Matt Luke, Dan Mullen, Jimbo Fisher, Chad Morris, Jeremy Pruitt, and did I mention Jimbo Fisher? Yes, I said him twice. And that doesn't even count the other leagues that he might have his hands in.
It's unbelievable.
So I mean, it's funny to think about an agent in an amateur sport potentially being the most powerful person in the sport. But I think there's one other person you could look at. It would be Jimmy Sexton. That's it.
And he, before we go on to your next one, Phil, for him to do what he did with Jimbo Fisher's contract, the way he orchestrated it, the way he somehow got Texas A&M to sign off with Jimbo Fisher not having even $1 of a buyout. We got to remind people, Jimbo Fisher does not have a buyout with his contract. So if he were to leave to go to another school, unless I'm reading this wrong, and this has been reported by a number of different outlets that I trust, Jimbo Fisher does not have a buyout in his contract. That's unbelievable to me for a coach of his caliber.
Okay, so I've got one here that refers to an article at Rivals that our friend Andrew Hutchinson wrote. He wrote about a tradition isn't the way to put this, but something that Ty Clary, Arkansas starting center, does every single game, before every game. He's not the only one to do it, and I guess this is a football thing more than a lot of the other sports, but maybe it's just an idea of how you deal with nerves. How I deal with nerves is I embrace them. Nerves are a good thing. That means that you care about what you're about to do, and there is a way, I don't know how to describe it, but there is a way to take those nerves and that what feels like negative energy in your body and turn it into positive energy for a good performance or whatever it is that you're nervous about. I never had to throw up before going on a radio broadcast. I felt like it a couple of times, but I never actually did it. Ty Clary throws up before every single game. He throws up before every single scrimmage. And he also says that he's not the only player on Arkansas's roster who had a, quote, pregame barf, and that it sometimes freaks out some of the young players, but it's so common that the upperclassmen generally fill them in. So what I think, and in today's day and age of multi-million-dollar football locker rooms at major universities where you've got an entertainment center, you've got these incredible locker room, quote-unquote, chairs that are essentially spaceships, when you've got barbershops and everything else that goes into these football locker rooms. I'm sure the bathrooms are fantastic, but I think every one of these locker rooms needs a vomitorium so that they can just do it away from everybody else and not freak out the younger players. You got enough money for one. I don't know if there's ever been a vomitorium built, but college football locker rooms need them just because they got to spend the money somehow. Change my mind.
My friend Bucky used to do that before basketball games. I never had to. I don't think I've ever thrown up before a sporting event, but I get why people do it. The nervousness, it calms them a little bit. Phil, real quick story, and you can tell me how much money I find at the end if it's bad. So 7th grade football, one of my most interesting memories from 7th grade football is when we're playing Pulaski Academy, and I'm Rock Christian. We just got absolutely demolished in that game. They were so much better than us. But we're lining up at the line of scrimmage, and this 7th grade left guard on the other side of the football for PA throws up in his hands and then hits my teammate and my buddy at the time, Todd Allen McDonald, in the shoulder pad. And Todd Allen's like, what is going on? He was so mad. Like, this kid threw up in his hands and then blocked him and just got throw up all over him.
That's wonderful. So can I give one too?
Yeah,
while people
away,
are driving,
Dave.
Why not? And then we'll take a break. So I'm calling a Travelers game at the old stadium at Raywinder Field. I guess this was like 2003 or 2004. Playing the team from Midland, Texas. And I'll never forget the kid's name. It's like 103 degrees outside. Darvin Withers is the pitcher for Midland, and he had a stomach bug, and they still let him pitch out there. I forget the inning, but I'll never forget the scene. He steps off the mound, turns his back on the stadium seats, and proceeds to puke twice on the field in the middle of the diamond, and then gets back up on top of the mound and continues to pitch. And I've never seen anything like that before. I would have hugged the kid, but he had throw up all over him, so I wasn't going to do that. And I think everybody's got a story that involves that, and I guess that'll be the one time we talk about vomit here on Halftime. We'll go to a break in a moment. Bill King's coming up later on in this hour, and there wasn't any change my mind, by the way, so I'm hoping that the next locker room that's built in the state of Arkansas does have a place for everybody to bend over and yak it up. Hey, our show brought to you, as always, by Breeden RV and Power Sports. They have upfront and no-hassle pricing, and every single RV is heavily discounted the moment it hits their lot, and you're guaranteed to get the best price around. Breeden RV is the only dealership around that offers maintenance for life. That's no extra charge on your new travel trailer, fifth wheel, or motorhome. So go see Breeden RV today. They're on Alma Highway between Van Buren and Alma, or check out BreedenRV.com. We'll come back with some interesting stuff that Eric Musselman is doing to get the word out about Arkansas basketball here on ESPN Arkansas and HitThatLine.com.
Good coaches win. Great coaches cover. You're listening to Halftime.
Get hot summer savings now during the Labor Day sales event at Williams Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Stigler, Oklahoma. Incredible offers on an impressive selection of new 2018 still in stock and the stylish new 2019s. Huge savings through Labor Day on trucks, SUVs, cars, and minivans. Don't miss it, the Labor Day sales event going on now at Williams Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Stigler. To view the inventory, look them up at buywilliams.com.
When was the last time you looked forward to seeing the dentist? Well, if it's been a while or you haven't had the best of experience with dentistry, meet Marcy Van Ash McKinney in Family Dentistry. They take care of it all: crowns, bonding, dentures, bleaching, and cosmetic dentistry. They even offer oral consciousness sedation available for your comfort. That's Marcy Van Ash McKinney Family Dentistry at 807 South 21st. Call for an appointment today, 494-7600. That's 494-7600.
Massey Ferguson tractors have arrived at Bush Machine and Tractor. Bush Machine and Tractor is proud to be the newest Massey Ferguson dealer in western Arkansas, providing you with a full lineup of versatile Massey Ferguson tractors. They're built with straightforward power, smart fuel economy, and upgraded control and comfort. Stop by and find a new Massey Ferguson perfectly sized to fit your property or farm at Bush Machine and Tractor, 7301 South 0 Street in Fort Smith, or visit us online at bushtractor.com.
Hardee's new 2-3 More breakfast menu is as easy as a walk in the park. $2 gets you a pair of cinnamon and raisin biscuits or a savory sausage biscuit. $3 gets you a tasty bacon, egg, and cheese on a made-from-scratch biscuit. And $4 gets you a hearty breakfast platter loaded with sausage and other breakfast classics. In fact, the new 2-3 More menu may even be simpler than a walk in the park. It's more like a walk in an airport, where they have those sidewalks that move for you. Pilots have it made. The new Hardee's 2-3 More menu. Offer available for a limited time during regular breakfast hours at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Tax not included.
B&J Comfort Solutions provides home comfort and energy solutions to the River Valley, specializing in residential sales, service, and installation, offering only the absolute best customer service around. Call them for any of your service, maintenance, or replacement needs. B&J Comfort Solutions offer an industry-leading 5-year labor warranty on all new system installations. Veteran-owned and operated, and satisfaction is always guaranteed. Contact B&J Comfort Solutions today at 479-646-0284.
Is your home at least 10 years old and served by OG&E? OG&E is offering Arkansas customers a free weatherization program to increase your comfort and lower your bills. A trained crew will perform an energy audit at no cost to you, and if your home qualifies, our crews will install measures that will save you money. The services provided through this program are absolutely free to qualifying homes. If you could benefit from free home weatherization improvements, call OG&E at 1-800-272-9741. That's 1-800-272-9741.
Are you looking for an easier way to own a new Ford? If you want a better selection with more financing options, try Harry Robinson's Salisal Ford. If you want more for your trade, try Harry Robinson's Salisal Ford. If you have not had great service from other dealers, try Harry Robinson's Salisal Ford. If your dealer isn't meeting your expectations, try Harry Robinson's Salisal Ford.
Harry Robinson, Salisal Ford.
And online at harryrobinson.com.
This is the Morning Rush.
Don is in Greenwood. What's going on, Don?
This is just a simple redneck thought. I think he's nervous because of his last year, which you guys just mentioned. He does not want to name somebody and come out and look flat. He is more nervous than we are. He cannot have an overconfident attitude and come out and fall flat on his face this year.
Don't miss the Morning Rush. Weekdays from 6 till 9. Only on ESPN 95.3. Halftime is brought to you by Coors Light, made to chill. You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
The backside, Wilson. Good block by Piero Small. The ball is caught. Touchdown, Kobe Hamilton, who saves his best days for games in Little Rock.
We have found out that Arkansas practices today at 4:30 in the afternoon. The media schedule that was given to us way back in late July had said TBA for practice time today. Chad Morris is expected to speak to the media at 4:20, and then a 4:30 practice time. So there you go. Chandler and Roland had asked us that. And, of course, he's got the radio show later on today. He'll have Ben Hicks and who else is on the show today? He's got TJ Smith on the show along with Chad Morris at the Catfish Hole. And, of course, you can hear it on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com at 7 o'clock. All right, Eric Musselman, I got to tell you, the more that you see and hear from him, the more you buy in. I think I bought in the moment I met him when Bubba and I had him on the baseball broadcast, and he was great for a full inning, entertaining, intense. And then the more you see what they're doing on social media, some of the incredible photos, the staged photos that he has that they've used with some of the recruits. This is a coach who just looks like a lot of fun. I mean, if I was a great basketball player, age 17, I'd be looking to Eric Musselman. He called in to Barstool Yak, which is a sports talk show on Sirius XM, and of course it's one of Ty Richardson's favorite radio programs. And I'll tell you what, I don't know who the hosts like as far as college basketball programs, but I think to a man in that studio, they're now all big Razorback fans. Ty, I listened to his quick phone call, and he was talking about the pictures that he was taking with the recruit. I don't remember the recruit he took this photo with, and I didn't even realize that the photo, you might have seen it on Twitter.
KK Robinson was the Tyronn Lue, and then...
Right, and I didn't even know that that's what it was. It looked like you got Musselman down on the ground, a couple of the assistant coaches standing behind Robinson, who was stepping over Musselman. And I had forgotten that that's a famous photo of Allen Iverson stepping over Tyronn Lue when they had the same hairdo and Lue's on the ground. I mean, it is exactly the same photo. There have been a couple of other photos, I think, involving Shaquille O'Neal that they've also staged. This just looks like a lot of fun. The kids are having fun when they come to visit Arkansas. And this is Eric Musselman on the recruits wanting to take pictures.
We're just trying to have fun with our recruits, do some stuff that's a little bit outside the box. Couple recruits, and obviously with the NCAA rules, you can't name a particular recruit, but we do have guys coming on campus that will say, hey, I want to do a picture from this NBA game or from this NBA scenario. So we're just trying to have fun with our guys.
So that part was cool, Phil. And then Dan Big Cat his nickname, who's on the Must Bus along with the other two hosts, Caleb Presley and Adam Rohn. They asked him, it's like, Coach, what if the guys want to take a picture with you being Jeff Van Gundy and then being Alonzo Mourning? You think back with that iconic picture of Jeff Van Gundy holding on for dear life to Alonzo Mourning's tree trunk of a lead. This is what he had to say about that.
Okay, so what if someone comes in and says, Coach, my favorite scene ever is Jeff Van Gundy being dragged around by Alonzo Mourning in Madison Square Garden. Will you take that picture?
You know what? Actually, you guys just gave me a great... I think that might be the next one.
Oh, my God. I love it.
He gets it, man. And
so does that mean that if a kid said, I want to recreate the Malice in the Palace, you let it happen?
I guess, man.
He wants to be Ron Artest swinging up in the stands at Bud Walton Arena.
There might have some limits, but he posted a picture, and I'm assuming one of his graphics guys there over at Arkansas basketball put Eric Musselman's face on Jeff Van Gundy's face when he's holding on to Alonzo Mourning's leg, which is just a wild picture. That sequence, if you haven't seen, is unbelievable. That happened. Was Mourning was he on the Heat or the Knicks at the time?
Oh, he was on the Heat.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, man,
I just want to make sure. That was a rivalry because him and Larry Johnson didn't like each other because they had once played with one another and they kind of had differences. But I thought it was great. And as much as Barstool has made the waves amongst young kids, that's going to get a lot of traffic. And I think that people notice that. And I think people, and especially the kids you were talking about, that he's trying to recruit, they like it, Phil.
So if I was a recruit and I wanted to recreate a photo, I want to recreate Kevin McHale clotheslining Kurt Rambis. That's the one that I want to do. And obviously, I'm McHale because I'm not going to get clotheslined by anybody 7 feet tall.
I love how when Rambis gets up like he's trying to fight, Magic Johnson just like grabs him and throws him aside. It's like, no, we're not going to do this. But yeah, that was wild. Then you have Kareem throwing the elbows. That series in '84, man, was nuts. And Celtics got in 7.
Well, here's the from us. What show or podcast hasn't he been on? The guy is everywhere, and I don't mean that in a negative way. He's getting the word about Arkansas basketball out there in a way that I don't think a coach has ever done before. And maybe part of it is that you didn't have the tools to get the word about the program out there that you have now, unless it was just the games on television. But now there's so many ways to do it. Muss is dialed in, and he is a coach that is easy to root for. I think Mike Anderson was easy to root for too. That's because of his demeanor. That's because of his relationship to the program for so long, and it was just generally a very nice man. But with Musselman, I think he's easy to root for a different reason. He just looks like a ton of fun. All right, we'll come back after the break. We got Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio on Halftime on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com.
You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
Kids are back in school, fall is just around the corner, and at Breeden RV that means one thing, camping season. With deals on new travel trailers up to $13,000 off and new fifth wheels up to $20,000 off, you'll see why Breeden RV is the area's fastest growing RV dealership. And you'll have peace of mind when you buy from Breeden RV because every new RV comes with maintenance for life. So stop by today at Breeden RV on Alma Highway between Van Buren and Alma, or visit us on the web at BreedenRV.com. Breeden RV, home of maintenance for life.
This is Mark Hurst. It's back to school time for our kids and teachers, and for a lot of our families, including mine, back to school means back to a routine. At Hurst Family Dental Care, we recommend a routine when it comes to your dental cleanings. For a lot of us, routine cleanings are included at no additional charge through our dental insurance, but often we get out of the routine and taking advantage of that benefit. Call our office today at 474-1972 to set up your routine cleaning. Hurst Family Dental Care, a name you know and a name you can trust.
Chalupas, tamales, and refried beans. The freshest tortillas that you'll ever eat. Authentic, delicious, we all can agree. It's the real taste of Mexican food.
Juan's Mexican Restaurant, where every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. $1 tacos every Tuesday plus 99-cent margaritas. Just $1 taco and 99-cent margaritas. So bring the whole family and enjoy Taco Tuesday at Juan's.
It's the real taste of Mexican food.
You've worked hard your whole life anticipating the day you could finally retire. If that day is near, there are 5 things you need to do. Spend wisely, understand your retirement plan distribution options, plan for your required minimum distributions, know your Social Security options, and consider phasing. Call Brad Lewis at United Financial Advisors to discuss these steps in detail at 242-7466 or through our website at ufadvisors.net.
Securities and advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates, member FINRA SIPC. United Financial Advisors is a marketing destination.
Did you invest in real estate only to find out that real estate takes up too much of your time? If you answered yes, then it's time to make a call to the experts. With more than 30 years of combined property management experience and more than 16,000 units managed, Trinity Multifamily are the ones to call. Get your life back. Call Trinity Multifamily at 479-452-1817 or online at trinitymultifamily.com. Trinity Multifamily, your teammate in the real estate game.
Was your roof damaged by recent storms? Don't fall victim to out-of-town contractors and fly-by-night repairmen. Trust the local roofing professionals at Able Roofing. Call their local number, 474-0006, for a free roof inspection. Never trust something as important as the roofing system on your home to a storm chaser. Able Roofing, 474-0006, will work with your insurance company. Call now for your free roof inspection, 474-0006. Able Roofing, the hometown roofers.
Attention, please.
Halftime is brought to you by Supercuts, offering smart looks for back to school and serving your community daily. Supercuts, we're super in style. You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
And Derby's got the first down. A.J. Derby then hits the speed. How about that? Did he stay in? Touchdown, Arkansas!
Week 1 here on Halftime on ESPN Arkansas. HitThatLine.com. Bill King joining us every Wednesday from Nashville Sports Radio. You can hear him from 6 to 9 Central. Bill, let's get right to it. Of course, you know the big news coming out from Alabama late last night that Dylan Moses was injured his knee, and word coming out today he's lost for the entire season. I know a lot of folks around the country would think, well, you know, that you're just replacing a first-team All-America linebacker and future NFLer with probably another one. But I know that Alabama has dealt with linebacker injuries in previous years. I think they've got another injured linebacker right now. They're going to be a little bit inexperienced at that position to start the season, but the question would be, does that even hurt them very much for the first 5 weeks?
Well, their schedule is so forgiving that I don't think it matters. Regular season, I don't think it matters. Now, you start playing at Georgia, which they don't get the regular season, but you get them in the SEC championship game, you get to the playoffs, you're playing Clemson, or then you may start paying for that a little bit. The flip side of that is you may have a young guy, because they signed several linebackers, to step in, and by that time really not be a freshman anymore. So you just don't know.
Well, and, you know, we were talking here about, you know, Arkansas has suffered no injuries on whether their starting 11 defensively will be, but they would have a lot of trouble withstanding, I think, 1 or 2 injuries to any of those starters. You're talking about a completely different animal when you're talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, they recruit as high a level as anybody probably ever has, and they're consistent with it. They even transition tons of assistant coaches in and out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt them. And now there's one linebacker they didn't get, and that was Henry Tuoto'o out of California. He was a high 4-star, and he actually chose Tennessee, and he's probably going to start for Tennessee because Tennessee has at least one linebacker out, maybe 2, and Tennessee's best player, Bryce Thompson, at corner, a true sophomore who's a freshman All-American a year ago, is suspended indefinitely over a domestic issue.
So Arkansas opens with Portland State this Saturday. Probably the perfect opponent to start with for Arkansas, considering where they're coming from last year. No other SEC team is opening against an FCS team, though they all will play one at some point this year. You know, and it's funny, too, because Portland State's coach has said they're traveling to Arkansas, they're going to Boise State, getting paid a little over $1 million total between those, and that is paying for football for the whole year for the Viking football program. My question to you is, what do you think about playing FCS teams? Because some fans are saying you're going to kill some of these programs if you don't play them and pay them, but it's not up to FBS teams to keep FCS afloat. What do you think?
I think one's fine. I don't get all spastic. I think it's a bad look that last weekend, before the last weekend in November, when the entire SEC plays some team that you've never heard of or a FCS team. That's kind of a bad look collectively for the league, the weekend before the rivalry weekend. And it looks, if you look at it, every year it's all of them, maybe with the exception of one team, it's all of them doing it because they're heading into the big game to finish the regular season. I don't really have an issue with it. And look, if you're Arkansas, you need some success. You need to build some confidence. You need to get out there. This is the game that can get you going a little bit. I know it doesn't measure you against the SEC West, but Arkansas needs mental stability, and I don't mean that in a rude way. I just mean they need good things. They need happy stuff.
Talking with Bill King, Nashville Sports Radio on the Cherokee Casino Hotline. Bill, I know you got one of your buddies, Rusty Manziel, coming down with you to Nashville on Friday. He covers Georgia. I know you're going to get into this conversation with him on Friday. If you want to preview it for us a little bit, I just can't buy into the Georgia national championship hype based on the fact that their top 4 pass catchers from last year are no longer going to be with Jake Fromm. Can you alleviate some of my dismay, some of my concern when it comes to Georgia on them possibly being national championships this year?
Well, they've got Jake Fromm, who is fantastic quarterback, and he's now a junior. He's got tons of experience. He's as good a quarterback as there is in America. He may not be as flashy as some others, but for what they want from him, he is right there at the top. They have what they think is not a really good offensive line. They think this is a generational offensive line. And they're 8 deep. They've got subs that are All-American potential that are not starting. Matter of fact, Cade Mays, who's from Knoxville, has already beaten out Ben Cleveland, it looks like, his 6'7", 350-pound guard for them. Crazy talent there. They are deeper at running back than anybody in America. And Zamir White is now healthy. They've got 4 to 5 running backs who play anywhere and excel anywhere. Now, they're depleted at receiver. You pointed that out. That's true. That's true. And they're not very deep at all at tight end. Maybe their tight end is a transfer from Tennessee. That is a problem, but they have recruited talent to that position. They've got this George Pickens kid, a 5-star out of Alabama. They've got Dominic Blaylock. They got out of Marietta. He's also a 5-star. There's talent there. And here's the other thing, guys. Their schedule isn't that big of a deal, if you think about it. Now, they do get A&M. That's not an easy game. They don't get Alabama until postseason if they match up. They're better than Auburn. I know that game can sometimes be a toss-up. They're clearly a better team than Auburn. They're clearly a better team than Florida. It might not matter in this case either.
All right, so I heard you talking with Kevin Hagan about Bama this morning on your show, Bill, and I didn't know this until he mentioned it. Tua Tagovailoa is holding kicks. Not only is he holding kicks, and I say holding kicks, he's holding for field goal unit. He battled out Mac Jones and beat him out for the position. If you're Bama, is that not concerning that your potential Heisman winner could be taken out for the season with one cheap shot?
Not only that, but you don't have a backup. Mac Jones, at least to date now, maybe that changes. Mac Jones is one of those guys in practice who looks good. And then when it's time to go against real pitching, we'll use a baseball metaphor here, he doesn't get a hit. He hits it in the batting cage incredibly well. Probably hits 800 in the batting cage. When the real lights are on and they have the scoreboard working, he hadn't played that well. He's a highly thought-of kid. Now, the other quarterback, if something were to happen to Tua on a PAT, well, it could be Talia Tagovailoa. And that's the true freshman younger brother who's a right-hander, not a lefty. He's good, but he's not ready. It's not time to throw him in there. That could be a problem. You point out, yes.
Bill, what did you think watching Florida-Miami? I mean, the Gators' defense looked great. Miami looked like that offensive line is inexperienced and was confused at times. Was it a matter of Florida's defense really being that good, or a matter of Miami's offensive line being that inexperienced?
Well, frankly, Phil, they didn't play that well defensively. Now, they got 10 sacks. That's a crazy number, we all know. But they missed a lot of tackles. Now, I think that's mainly because it was week 0. You don't practice like you used to practice with all the tackling, and it's sloppy in the beginning. So if Florida's sloppy in the beginning and they have some of the best defensive players, then that might be a signal of what we're going to get this coming weekend in some of these games. I thought the most disappointing thing for the Gators, though, was Felipe Franks. He did not take a step forward. He took a step back. That interception, when they're trying to keep the ball late, was a junior high-level play. It was god-awful. And let me flip it back to the defense. Have you guys ever in your life seen this? It's 4th and 34 for Miami.
Yeah.
And Florida gets an interference call. What in the hell is that? I mean, I swear to God, guys, I've watched 6-year-old football. I've never seen that play in my life.
Well,
it was
so
sloppy.
do you put Florida on notice for the Kentucky game? Because we've talked to a couple of folks that really are heavy into the SEC and are picking Kentucky to win that ball game. What would you think about Florida-Kentucky in a couple of weeks?
One thing we have to be careful with is not making sure we understand every week's kind of a reset. What you saw one week, you got to remember, Florida looked sloppy early last year and lost to Kentucky. Now, Kentucky last year is much better than they did this year. I don't think so. Now, that game's up in Lexington, so perhaps at Commonwealth. But I think Florida's a little better. I think they'll settle down. It might be a close game, but I still would like the Gators there.
All right, I just want to ask for a little bit of advice before we let you go, Bill, because next week marks the 1-year anniversary of this radio show, of which you've been a part of for just about every week on Wednesdays, and we definitely have appreciated your expertise in college football, but you also have an expertise in how to have a successful radio show. What do you have to do after the first year? What do Ty and I need to focus on, or what do we need to do to ensure that there's at least a successful second year?
Be like Feinbaum. Invite callers to come on and then cut them off, even if they're saying something really good. Just be mean. The meaner you are in year 2, the more money you'll make. Just trust me there, okay?
I've heard this before. I've listened to some radio hosts that are flat out DBs to their callers, and that's not my nature. So I'm going to have to change my nature.
Yeah, you guys just fake it, man. And here's the other thing: set up fake calls that aren't truly random. Have your buddy call in, say something really controversial. So, and your buddy's anonymous. Nobody's going to know his voice, so you guys can just go nuts. So that's another really good ploy.
That sounds like really good advice, Bill. We appreciate that very much, and always appreciate you coming
yeah,
on.
and cook a lot of brisket. That's the other part.
Aha, yes. Another thing I've got to learn from you.
Bill, real quick before I let you go, I was going to ask food. It's week 1. I know you're a big barbecuer. You're all things food. What are you throwing on the grill week 1 this Saturday?
I don't really know. Guys, I got no plan. No plan at all. I'll have to think of maybe nothing. Maybe pizza.
Oh, Ty's on his way over to your house, by the way.
Carry out pizza, man.
For that reason and that reason alone, Ty is in the car headed to Nashville right now for this upcoming weekend. Be ready. Hope you got a bed for him, Bill. Thanks so much.
There you go.
You got it. Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio. And I know we'll have a good talk with him next week after a lot of games coming up. In fact, he got games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. For those who bleed college football, that's a lot of blood. We'll come back with a cherry on the top of halftime next on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com.
Don't spend life sitting on your hands. You're listening to Halftime.
Right now, I'm holding a perfectly ice-cold Coors Light. You know how I know it's the perfect temperature? Because the mountain on the can is blue. And also, it's really cold. Every Coors Light is cold filtered, cold lagered, and cold packaged. So make sure the mountain on your can of Coors Light is blue, because that means it's ready to enjoy. Coors Light, as cold as the Rockies. Available down the street. 2019 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Your fence is more than a decoration. It's a reflection of its owner. Choosing a fence company should be done with integrity and quality in mind. The Fence Man has been providing fencing and security solutions for over 40 years. An in-house custom iron and gate department, plus an access control department. The Fence Man offers services other companies aren't equipped to do. The Fence Man, fencing and security solutions to protect what matters most. 479-782-3936 or online at thefencemancompany.com, a division of Quantum Property Services. Joe's Grill and Cantina is the only place to watch the Hogs. Watch every game at Joe's. Enjoy half-price apps and taps during the game. And with TVs all around the restaurant, you'll have a front row seat. Half-price appetizers like brisket nachos, Mexican pizza, 10-layer dip, or Joe's humongous sampler platter. All half price. And all beers on tap are half price. Watch every Hog game at Joe's. Half-price apps and taps during every Hog game at Joe's Grill and Cantina. 3400 South 74th Street across from Harps.
Being the family superhero is a tireless job, constantly defending against skinned knees and sibling supervillains that won't share. But who's there for them if you're not? Your local Shelter Insurance agent. With an insurance superhero sidekick, you can find a life insurance plan that helps provide a safety net for your family. Find your insurance superhero at shelterinsurance.com. We're your shield. We're your shelter. Shelter Life Insurance Company, Columbia, Missouri.
Ask Shelter agents Ted McAvoy or Jeff Clark about a free insurance review.
Hi, folks. Larry Rath here for Rath Auto Resources, where the summer sales drive is in full swing. First, we want to thank everyone who shopped with us in the last couple of months. We appreciate your business. If you haven't been in yet, there's still time. Now through Labor Day, you can save like never before on a great selection of Rath Road Ready premium pre-owned vehicles. Like the special purchase 18 Hyundai Elantra SELs, just $13,993 or zero down and payments as low as $221 a month while they last. If you're keeping the car you have, let us take care of it for you in our Meineke Car Care Center. Buy 3, get 1 free on all tires, free AC checks, and 10% off all AC work. Make this a great time to get your car ready for summer vacation or back to school. Plus, there's still time to register for a showroom full of free prizes as well as a grand prize prize trip to Big Cedar Lodge. Don't miss out on the fun and savings during the summer sales drive at Arkansas's favorite used car dealer, Rath Auto Resources, and the Meineke Car Care Center, 4515 Towson Avenue, Fort Smith, or online at rathauto.com.
No purchase necessary. 0 down payment with approved credit. See dealer for details.
Tired of all the broken promises and broken equipment at your current gym? The Fort Smith Athletic Club is the nicest and most well-equipped fitness and tennis club in the area, with a state-of-the-art fitness center, Pilates, fitness classes, personal and group training, and the best tennis facilities in the region. 7 outdoor courts, 5 indoor courts, plus pickleball and racquetball courts, and free child care is included. The Fort Smith Athletic Club. Call 452-4031 for membership information.
Hi, I'm Kelly Smith, owner of Dixie Digital Imaging, the Xerox authorized agency and dealer in the River Valley. The 29 new models of Xerox business printers and copiers represent a quantum leap forward in office technology. They are designed for the way we work today, safely and securely. They're powered by Xerox Connect Key technology. They're innovative and affordable with both black and white and color devices available. For more information, give Dixie Digital a call at 783-6600 or visit us at dixiedigital.com. Dixie Digital Imaging, bringing Xerox document innovations to the River Valley.
Halftime is brought to you by Coors Light, made to chill. You're listening to Halftime with Phil Elson and Ty Richardson.
Here's Jones on a keeper. Out over the 40 to midfield. Matt Jones may take it to the house. And the dunk.
Closing up shop here on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com. Phil Elson, Ty Richardson. Be sure to tune in 7 o'clock tonight at the Catfish Hole. Ben Hicks and TJ Smith are the featured guests. Chuck Barrett is hosting. Of course, Chad Morris will be there as well. Catfish Hole, man, that gets me hungry. It gets me thinking about heading. I'm not going to the show, but rest assured, Ty, that once I start traveling up there for women's basketball again in November, I'll probably head up there in October for some practices. I'll go over there, and they definitely respect their catfish with some of the prices they put on them, but it's really good. I try to go there. I guess I go there about 3-4 times each season, just because I know it's going to be open after basketball games. So you've been there a couple times, though, right?
Yeah, a few times. I went more when I was a kid, but I hadn't been since I think sophomore year. It's been a little while.
I hosted the show once after Chuck's father passed away the week of Thanksgiving 2016. Hosted the show with Brett Bielema. Frank Ragnow was one of the guests, and I forget the name of the punter because he was the other guest.
Sam Irwin Hill, Reed Bauer.
I think it was Sam Irwin Hill.
Sam Irwin Hill.
This was leading into the last Missouri. That was at the Mizzou game on the road, which Arkansas lost. So I guess I can take a little bit of the blame for that. Well, it was a good show today. We appreciate Bill King. Appreciate our friend Clay Henry. Tomorrow, Bob Holt comes on to join us. Football practice in about 2.5 hours, so stick around. Ruskin and Zach will have a lot to talk about later on at 3 here on ESPN Arkansas. HitThatLine.com.